Žijeme ve světě, kde význam Číny roste. V této souvislosti je velmi důležité porozumět čínské renesanci.
We live in a world in which the importance of China is growing. In this context, it is very important to understand the Chinese Renaissance. I am David Gosset, a French sinologist, and it is a great pleasure for me to be in China Talk. Hello, welcome to China Talk. I am David Gosset, a French sinologist, founder of the China-Europe-America Global Initiative. And today I am extremely happy to be with you. We are going to cover different topics, among them the Chinese Renaissance in the 21st century. I have had the opportunity to see China's change for the past 2 decades, and indeed they are absolutely enormous. And I am one of those who believe that we have never seen such a thing in the history of mankind, such a change actually in such a rapid time, because 2 decades is a very, very rapid time. For a civilization like China, change means also the reinterpretation of China's classical tradition. In other words, China's modernization does not mean the westernization of China. China is modern and very Chinese. In order to understand China, it's very important to keep in mind, I think, the notion of Renaissance. What do I mean by that? Of course, China is getting more and more powerful, but actually China is returning to a position of centrality that the country has occupied for long periods of time. I would like the viewer to think about the Han Dynasty, the Tang Dynasty, the Song Dynasty, even the beginning of the Ming Dynasty. So in that sense, China is not emerging from nowhere. China is coming back. I have had this chance to travel all around China, from Heilongjiang to Tibet, from Xinjiang to Shanghai. This is an enormous privilege. And then you get to know a country better. You get to appreciate the people better. If you want to understand the other from a cultural perspective, you need to be humble and patient. Some people in Europe, they do not understand, in my opinion, China enough. It takes time to understand China. And what I say to these people in Europe who, let us say, in a very blunt way, are afraid of China, I would tell them, come to China, talk to Chinese people, and you will see how open they are to cooperation and actually to create the conditions for global progress. I am not a very wise man, but if I have a bit of wisdom, a part of it comes from Chinese wisdom. Let me give you some examples. The Chinese notion of Chongyong, the middle way. This is something so deep and so valuable. The Chinese very specific approach towards contradiction, 矛盾. Western people, they are not very comfortable with this 矛盾, with this contradiction. Chinese people are very good at dealing with contradictions. But you know, as a European, what also strikes me, and I think, is the capacity of so many Chinese people, 1.4 billion Chinese people, to live in harmony. And we Europeans, of course, we are who we are, but I would wish to see a more cohesive Europe. Of course, not the level, not the type of cohesion you have in China, because again, China is China and Europe is Europe. But I am very impressed by the capacity of Chinese people to harmonize among each other France and China, the two countries that are celebrating their 60th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the two countries, have many things to achieve together. And for me, I see these two countries at being at the avant-garde of global cooperation. You know, when France and China established diplomatic relations in 1964, the world was very tense. We were in the middle of the Cold War. It was 2 years after the Cuban Missile Crisis. But Charles de Gaulle and Mao Zedong were able to do a breakthrough. What we need to do these days, especially this year, is to remember the past, to continue the spirit of cooperation, but also to look forward systematically with a very innovative spirit. I think this is time to open a conversation more systematic on artificial intelligence, quantum computing, biotechnology, green technology. We have great scientists in France and in China, and I would like to see even more exchanges. I think it is also very important for the Europeans to design their own policy vis-à-vis China. It is not for an external player. Here, some might think about the United States of America to tell Europe what Europe has to do vis-à-vis China. So this leads us to the question of the capacity of Europe to be an independent strategic actor. But I would say that to have European Union as an independent strategic actor would of course facilitate the relations with China. But at the end of the day, good relations between Europe and China are also a good thing for the US because, well, we need a world in which we have more prosperity. Therefore, more synergies between Europe and China means more prosperity on the mega Eurasian continent. Now we have entered a new phase for China's development. China is talking about quality growth. And this is very important because I think this is what China needs. The key word here is quality growth. This is good for China, this is good for the world. We might have some people thinking that the level of opening up of China has changed. I think that it could be a misconception. I believe that China has decided to stay on the track of reforms and opening up, what has started in 1978, and actually China's opening up to the world is going on. It means that the world is welcome to China, but it means also that China is going to the world. And it's very natural for me. I am not surprised to see that with its growing success, China has more and more influence in world affairs. So for the future, I think you will see more and more prosperous China, more and more open China, and you will see more and more Chinese friends, tourists, students, but also Chinese companies going to the world. And again, this is a good thing. The Chinese Renaissance, for the Chinese people, of course, it's a fantastic opportunity, but also for our world, it's a source of stability and progress.